The Arizona Coyotes keep finding ways to get points in the standings. They're no longer one of the worst in the NHL. We're going to talk about what propelled them to get to this point on this episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robin Leonio. That's Carl Pavlak. On today's episode of Locked On Coyotes, I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube. We're back from the weekend as Arizona took a couple more wins, Carl. They just keep finding ways not just to get points, but to get wins. And this young crew is just an exciting team to watch.
Yep, the Coyotes are not going down without a fight. They have decided to play spoiler / chaos demon, and honestly, it's a good thing to see. I would rather the Coyotes didn't just kind of casually accept losses. Let's be real.
Yeah, no, it's like, I think it goes to the idea that, we've been saying, that you've kind of also been saying a lot over the course of the season, that organizations tank, the players don't. And what the Coyotes are doing right now is kind of a huge testament to that. Is if you put this team together at the beginning of the year, I would tell you there's no way this team wins more than X amount of games and gets more than X amount of points because the talent is just not there. But that's because it was a lot of young, unproven talent. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's not going to be much. It's still year 2 of the tank, year 2 of the rebuild. Just let it go. But these young guys just keep finding ways to prove themselves, to show that they're here for the NHL, that they're here to make Arizona hockey exciting.
Yeah. And I mean, just as a broad scope thing that we should be discussing when talking about the tank is the Coyotes have a lot of loser points. They have 11 overtime / shootout losses. They are second in the division, behind only the Stars in that number. If you look at a team like Chicago, they have 6. So that's a real big point of where the Coyotes are getting these points from. And the reason we're seeing so many overtime losses is the Coyotes will come back in the third period. They won't go down without a fight. They have that kind of drive to finish strong. And I can appreciate that. The fact that they are willing to kind of just kind of go all out. That's something you hope carries into next season when they have a little bit more talent on the roster.
Oh, absolutely. You want to see how that looks out, and so far, some of the core members that we talked about last week are really showing, or now 2 weeks ago, really showing themselves out on becoming a more integral part of that. Obviously, Clayton Keller has been phenomenal. He's continues to be doing well. He's now tied with. So looking at this, he's tied for 20th in points in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
You got some of the other stat bits about him, and he's I love this kid. I love him.
Yeah. So Clayton has 32 goals, 43 assists, 75 points in 70 games. It is astonishing. To put that into context, the only players I've seen register more, Ray Whitney had 77 points in the 2011-2012 season. Radim Verbata had 35 goals. Clayton Keller, knock on wood, definitely could reach those numbers. And he has been a major part of the success on this win or on the point streak. Um, in the 8 game point streak, he has, uh, hang on, let me just see, 7 goals and 9 assists, which is just phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely. And it's what amazes me, Carl, is all this is happening. His performance and a lot of others after the NHL trade deadline.
Yeah. Although let's be fair, he didn't lose too much, other than
No, but
his defensive top
yeah,
pairings
it was
in the power
mainly
play.
defensive players, but other support offensive players, forwards were also dealt. So like they weren't really impacting him necessarily,
Yeah,
but it did move around some of the lines and kind of shuffle things up a little bit. And I'll add this too. Remember, I think what the COVID year we talked about this Coyotes team and the fact that they were quick to defeat,
yeah,
that they would let a really bad period come in. They whenever they play like the Avalanche on those like however many 10 times they played against each other during the COVID year, and they just let themselves down at then, right? They kind of just like had no confidence and anything like that. Clayton Keller this year is the exact opposite of that. He just looks like himself out there. And of course, not Keller, and we can talk about others in just a little bit. But he's just like firing on all cylinders.
absolutely. Like it's what we go back to discussing, like the fact that players don't tank, organizations do. Like you can't tell Clayton Keller that he can't continue to have one of the best seasons that an Arizona Coyotes player has ever had.
Hmm.
Like you like if you said, "Hey man, you should slow down a little bit," like draft, all that kind of stuff, he doesn't care. Like he is setting the pace for what the Arizona Coyotes could be and should be. Like this is captain material in a way. I know a lot of people like a more physical captain who can kind of like go out there, like throw the body if need be. I think of a captain as a person who will throw the team on his back and be like, "Hey, what? We're gonna win, and we're gonna win by scoring goals, and I'm gonna do it. So you got to do it. You can't be the only one not scoring."
100%. And a lot of teams are starting to move towards a captain that does that, and I kind of like that idea of having a captain that does that leads by skill. But we're going to continue to talk about the Arizona Coyotes point streak and how it's affected their place in the standings and their our perspective of this rebuild, Carl. We're going to get to that in a little bit, but first we're going to take a quick word from our sponsors. And I just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens and AG1. I run a busy schedule, which means sometimes I admittedly don't have all the time to get all the daily nutrition and vitamins I need for the day. That's why I'm glad I'm able to turn to AG1 from Athletic Greens. It is your one-stop shop of more than 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens to help you get your day started right. Just one scoop of this special blend and you are on your way to improve and support your gut health, immune system, and energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, gluten free, any of those. And best of all, it costs all less than $3 a day. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop and a cup of water every day, and that's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. And again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So let's go ahead and move on, Carl. Let's talk a little bit more about, um, you know, the surprise of this team going on. And I want to talk about Matthias Michelli for a little bit. And I can't. And I said it's. I don't think it was great to have his name added after surprise because, like, he's just been phenomenal. I don't think it's necessarily a surprise, but he's just been like. I think he's just been like. I like what he's doing. This kid, I think a lot of us are like here, at least here in Arizona, are talking about, you know, his push for at least Calder votes because despite his injury halfway through the season, he is still on the top. You know, in the among the top rookies and assists and points, and she's just not stopping.
Yeah. Um, I need to check, but I know he was top in points per games played.
Mm-hmm.
Just has been a phenomenal presence this season. You love to see it. I would say he is kind of a surprise, just because I don't think either of us expected him to be this dominant this season.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to put it. Like we knew he was good. I think we talked like you talked about him too, and your excitement for him to an extent last season. I got a chance to see a decent on him while he was in Tucson. And I was like, okay, this kid's good. I'm like excited to see what he can do in Arizona. But none of us, I think, really put it to the point where like we're calling him Matthias McCullough, right? None of us were literally putting stuff out there and like saying Michelli for Calder up until a little bit early in the season. We were doing it as kind of like joking friends, like, hey, this kid's doing pretty well. Yeah, Michelli for Calder. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this kid is doing well.
Yeah, like I would have been happy if he had like a decent third line like presence. Like if he didn't look out of place, that was kind of my expectation for him. But no, he has been a solid addition to the Coyotes offense. He's playing on a line with Lawson Krause and Jack McBain. All three are having like really good looks. Like I will say this about the line in the Coyotes 8-game point streak. Lawson Krause is the one who's doing like the worst in that, and he has 6 points, 2 goals and 4 assists.
Mm-hmm.
Michelli, 3 goals and 6 assists. McBain, 3 goals and 4 assists. So that is just like a really good line for the Coyotes. I don't think it's the second line of the future, but like if you have that as your third line, that's really
Okay,
impressive.
that's a solid third line. And we talked about the importance of having four really good lines. You can imagine the depth of the Coyotes if you have Michelli and Calder on your, I mean Michelli and Kraus. I was thinking Calder because we weren't going to call it a trophy. Michelli and Kraus on the third line. That's depth right there. But it is nice to see him do this well, and be a part of this. Yes, it might be affecting this rebuild, Carl, maybe in a little bit. I mean, we might be further along than we thought, but also at the same time, a lot of us were thinking, you know, tank hard for Bedard, fight for Fantilli. At this
Yeah.
point, it's a little bit hard to get those. We're talking about lottery, so there's still a chance the Coyotes can get one or two,
Yeah.
but it's getting slimmer and slimmer the more this team is winning.
I mean, at, at least it's the rookies, the younger players who are leading the charge. Like in addition to Keller, it is players that we've talked about. Michelli, McBain, Krause is another big piece. Players that we haven't talked about yet. Barrett Hayton has been doing phenomenally well, as has Yuso Valimaki. So like there are definitely pieces that we didn't think would be like doing as well like at this point in the season. So I think that is kind of where this is coming from. Like why the tank isn't necessarily the same, and what it could potentially mean for the Coyotes, like moving forward, what the rebuild like timeline is going to be. Because yeah, like there's a bunch of rookies that we didn't think were going to be as good as they are.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to think about. To take a look at it, it's funny because I was curious, Carl, and I took a look at where we are at the season, and I went to FanDuel and I asked, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and see um, what the Coyotes' odds are to finish last at this point because they've already gotten themselves a lot of points. Um, their odds, according to FanDuel, to finish last, Carl, is I believe 21 210 to 1 on. So 20 plus 21,000 odds. A $1 bet can get you $210.
Which I would not recommend doing.
No, but like it gives you the idea of now that that part is a long shot. The you're looking at the bottom teams like Chicago and in Columbus and San Jose. Those teams are so god awful that like it's Coyotes. You can tell are better than those teams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about it like earlier. Um, Clayton Keller has more points than the top two players on Chicago put together right now. Like there is just like there are players on the Coyotes who are having their career best years. There are multiple players having their career best years. And that's not usually something that you see with the tanking team. It's just not.
Right. No, 100%. 100%. It's not. But it's still interesting to see. And again, there still is a chance to to see if the Coyotes can make it. Right? There's still a chance that they can get first overall or second. Or particularly first overall. But you never know.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about the lottery, and you know what will happen is if the Coyotes win the lottery, everything would have had to have gone like exactly the way it did. Like I remember at one point, like reading an article where it's like if the Coyotes had won this one game or lost this one game, I can't remember which, they would have been one spot higher. So it must have been a win, and they would have won like the lottery. Like that is
Right.
how crazy the lottery gets.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely crazy to see how that it goes that way. And I mean, like, what we had. What was the most a team? What's the most a team can move up now?
10 spots. I looked it up.
10 spots.
Yeah. So I think we can hope that the Senators do not win the lottery. I think we initially thought 5, and we're like, okay, there's some wiggle room if they finish 11th. But yeah, 10.
Mm-hmm.
So don't want them to win.
Absolutely. We're gonna talk about the lottery in a little bit more. We still got a couple weeks left of the season, but might as well talk about the lottery a little bit. We're gonna get to that in a little bit though. But first, we're gonna take a quick word from our sponsors.
Looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories? Well, then you gotta try a Built Bar because Built Bars are so good. I love having them around. It's a nice, quick treat to have. And what makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros, and they're only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering on your Built bars on Built.com, but now you can go and get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. You can head over to your nearest Walmart, walk up to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs.
All right, so let's finish off this episode. Carl, I want to do something really quick, and we could have done it, weeks ago when the Coyotes were before their point streak and had higher points. But let's take a look at the lottery simulator. All right, we haven't done it yet. I've always wanted to do it on the show.
I hate doing them, but let's do it.
Let's do it. It's like they're like what? Yeah. So Arizona would end up staying put at both their spots. I mean, from especially their Ottawa one that they got from the Chikrin, they're going to stay at 7 and 12, and it's like San Jose, Anaheim, and Columbus for the top three. No surprise.
I mean, not unexpected. The team that's Arizona is, the spot that they're in. It's difficult to move up. It happens, but it's not something that happens a lot. But yeah, it's definitely, it's the way it goes sometimes. Luckily, there's only one simulation that actually matters, and that's the actual lottery.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I still love running the simulations every now and then because they're just fun. They're kind of just like they help, move the brain a little bit, kind of see because it's a randomizer.
I remember doing it a lot for the McDavid draft, but since then, I'm just like, why am I spending so much time doing this? It doesn't make me feel good. It's like doing a slot machine, only you don't actually win anything. But
absolutely,
yeah.
But one thing I do want to do, and in a scenario I want to run you across, and if you're not an Arizona Coyotes fans listening to this, and it does happen, I know a scenario like this would just drive you insane. It might drive you insane if you're a Coyotes fan too. But imagine this: the Coyotes get lucky. They either get the 1 or 2 spot. They either get Connor Bedard or Adam Fantilli. That is, or essentially, yeah. So they'll find out if they're 1 or 2 at the lottery. The lottery is May 8th. Yeah, the lottery is May 8th. 8 days later, Carl, is the City of Tempe election for the Tempe Entertainment District, Props 301, 302, and 303.
Yep.
Like, the fact that those 2 dates are so incredibly close, like, it makes you think a perfect scenario for the Arizona Coyotes in which they win the lottery on May 8th, and then they win the election on May 16th. May is a month for the Arizona Coyotes fans.
Potentially, yeah. There's going to be a lot that happens. It is a pivotal month for the franchise. The Coyotes have not won the lottery previously, but every not win is still like a key moment. It determines what the future is for the team, how they're going to be drafting, just a lot. And combine that with the local election to determine the fate of the arena. That is going to be something that absolutely goes down in history.
And I think, and the reason why I said if you're not a Coyotes fan, because if you're not a Coyotes fan and you're paying attention to what's you're probably but you're a big hockey fan, you're probably paying attention to what's going on in May here in Arizona.
Yeah,
because you're either kind of want to follow the Coyotes and hope the best for them because you're just like, you know what, I want to see hockey work in Arizona. There are people that actually legitimately, have hope for that. And then there are those people, Carl, who will call anybody out who tries to support hockey in Arizona, saying that that no one here deserves it, that it's hockey doesn't belong here, that you should just nuke the franchise and move him somewhere.
I will say, like, this cycle, because, like, especially around the trade deadline, like the moves that Bill Armstrong made, the fact that the team was kind of strapped by their financials. Like, people are better now at being like, look, Arizona has a good fan base. They don't deserve this. Like, that's at least a step in the right direction. But I do think that if the voting goes the way that they want, like the Coyotes ownership and management has a sense of stability. They know that the project's going to be there. Like, that is going to change things dramatically.
Oh, they'll start spending money. They'll start um, doing a lot more. I was gonna say investing more in the community, but they already do.
Yeah.
They already invest a crap ton in the community. Um, you see, these new rings get brought up, and you see what they do to youth hockey, and you see what they do everywhere else. It's amazing. Um, Carl, you were there. You weren't skating, but I was, just at the Oceanside farewell party early Sunday afternoon, and there were a decent amount of people coming in and out. There was an RV, like there was literally like tailgaters out there, literally grilling up some food. There was some live music. People out there celebrating, a piece of ice hockey history in Arizona.
Yeah. And it was a very specific crowd too. Like, it was a lot of like older people with kids. Like, you can tell that they probably went to Oceanside like decades ago. And it is a piece of you know, their life that is going. Um like, they had, I don't know if you saw, like, corkboard in the like entryway where you could see like the teams from like 1988. Like, there is definitely like a long history of hockey in Arizona that I don't think gets talked about enough. Like, people, and we could be guilty of this as well. Like, seem to think that hockey in Arizona starts and ends at the NHL. It absolutely does
No,
not. There is a history here, and I think that hopefully it can all come together to have a bright future.
absolutely. And but the point I was trying to make with all that too, just kind of like make sure everyone understands what I'm trying to say here is the community here is strong, and the Coyotes are trying to prove to that community that they belong here. Um, this everything goes their way in May. This like I have no reason to believe that they're not going to have constant sellouts at the new arena.
Yeah, because it's the perfect spot. Like, everything has the chance to go really right for the Coyotes in the next couple months, which is crazy after the 2 years we've had. Like, there is a potential for a bright spot coming up.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts you want to give about this about the Coyotes rebuild and tank and or any of these players moving on up?
I feel like we didn't talk enough about Barrett Hayton, but Hayton absolutely deserves all the praise. He is definitely becoming the top six center that the team hoped he would be when he was drafted. We'll have to do a whole episode about how he's been playing.
Absolutely. I know. I saw that one of the episodes you did while you were covering for me while I was taking care of moving into a new apartment. I covered a little bit of Barrett Hayton, but we'll definitely go dive in deep about that. We'll have some fun with it.
Absolutely.
Anyways, though, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your shows, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robin_Leano. Carl Pavlok is at 5 howling. Interact with us, ask a question you might have, we might answer right back, or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys staying safe out there. Hope you guys staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.